everyone. Welcome to the Fit and Fabulous Well-Being discussion on holistic well-being. Today, I have three amazing guests who will be talking to you. The first is Juanita Ashok. She's been a Fit India ambassador. She's a lifestyle motivator, media presenter, and author of the book, You Have an Excuse, I Have an Exercise. Juanita has been a Bangalore fitness queen and is truly one of the leading fitness experts in the country. Our second panelist is Aoife Shroff. Aoife has been truly inspirational. I've been following her content for some time right now. She blends yoga, nutrition, and gastronomy, where she's looking at food. Aoife is someone who's healed her body herself after an accident using food and yoga. So she's a true advocate of every single thing that she speaks about. And I'm super excited to have her on the panel. And last but not least, is a dear friend of mine, Dhyan Pandey, who's a wellness coach and a fitness expert. She's been talking about fitness and nutrition for decades right now. She's the author of two best-selling books called I'm Not Stressed and Shut Up and Train. And she recently released her new book, which is called Balance by Dhyan. Dhyan speaks about finding balance through a holistic life aspects. She speaks about 13 aspects in her balance model, and we'll be hearing from her more in this discussion on holistic well-being. Thank you so much for joining me, and let's get into it. Okay. So everyone, welcome. I think the way I'm going to start this discussion is we all are on a wellness panel. So I'm going to move between every single one of our guests, and I'm going to ask you, what does wellness mean to you? And with respect to wellness, how would you define success? So let's start with you, Dhyan.
Okay, so I've always said, and I believe that wellness is a very broad spectrum. It's not just your food on your plate or your workouts in the gym. It's many aspects put together. It's your state of your mind, how positive you think, whether you're fearless, the stress levels, what you eat, how you eat, where you eat your food from, how it's grown. Fitness is just not only, about just getting that six pack or going to the gym and working out or being a size 0 or slim. It's about your, beauty inside out. It's about your organ health. It's about you feeling full of energy, feeling good about yourself. It's about so many aspects put together, not just, like how people feel just, your diet or your fit or your workout routine. So I can talk a little more about it a little later on.
For sure. Aoife, what does wellness mean to you, and how would you define success with respect to well-being?
My definition honestly keeps changing every year, or maybe every few months, because every time I'm so excited about something new I found out, I realize it's just another speck on the beach of sand. But I think broadly speaking, I could say that it's my balance and my sense of well-being between my body, mind, and spirit. And the spirit of all things I eat, touch, live with, breathe. Just like Dhyan said, it's the environment that we live in and the environment we create within us, not just in the sense of food, but also in the sense of our thoughts and our spirit. So success, whatever that means, honestly, I still haven't figured what that word means. If you guys figure it out, I'd really like to know. But success for me just means, actually, I learned this from one of my clients, and I thought it was just one of the most awesome things he ever said. And he said, Aoife, if I can wake up in the morning or in the middle of my workout, in the middle of my meal, and just breathe really easy. He says, I know I'm onto something. I know I'm good. But if I'm feeling restricted because of what I've eaten or because of what I've said or because of the work I'm doing or the place I'm in, then I know I'm not in a sense of well-being. And I thought that was actually great. It just makes it really easy. If I can feel good about myself and my breath is moving easy and I'm feeling fantastic, like I'm feeling with you guys right now, it's like I can feel some good energy and good vibes coming through. I'm not feeling like, oh my God, this feels like. So for me, I think that's success with wellness.
That's amazing. I think both of you alluded to the fact that there's a connection between the inside and the out. And what I to truly feel well, you need to feel it, which is very beautiful. Juanita, what does well-being mean to you, and how would you
Success,
define
yeah.
success?
So both you guys were bang on with all the facts, and that is the truth. And I've been promoting wellness, and Get Fit India was my mission from past 18 years. So when I did my first certification, okay, and at that time I was 35 years old, and this month, and I'm going to be turning 54. So that is success.
Wow.
And you know what? It is not just physical fitness, like Dan said, it is mental, emotional fitness too. And stress is like, on the rise, and everything is stressful. Not getting likes on Facebook, your Facebook post is stressful these days for people. So, exercise is about being independent of being not depending on anybody. So that is something that I've been promoting and trying to throw in some light and make people understand that, size 0 or, six packs is not the definition of fitness. So and people are pushing themselves to work out more than necessary, and that is where I come in. I've been trying to educate people from a fitness certified fitness trainer. I turned into a fitness activist because this has become big business, and people just go gaga over their workouts just to post on Facebook, social media. So more about it later, but it is emotional, mental, and physical wellness.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Vanita. So, ladies, I'm going to dive deep into the subject right now, and I'm going to start with you, Aoife. You speak about the relationship between really yoga, nutrition, gastronomy. You're talking about that. In the current day and age, my question to you is, how do you trust the source of the food that you're getting? What is your tips for that? Because there's so much of things that are being laced into it, whether you're buying it off the shelf, whether you're even buying fresh vegetables, whether you're even buying whole foods, you can't trust that source. So as a person who's diving deep into nutrition, what's your advice on who to trust and where do you get trusted, good quality food from?
Yeah. So I'm going to refrain from giving a very clear answer about this, but the general rule of thumb I go by is to make sure that I go to the source as much as possible. You can't always land up at a farm and check what they're doing. You'd go crazy if you kept doing that, but go as close to the source. So, if I'm having my tomatoes, can I at least have them raw, even if they're not organic, rather than buy them in a can where they've got other stuff that I'm not too sure what goes into it and how long they've been sitting there. But more so about if the food feels good, I know it's good for me. If it doesn't feel good, I don't feel good when I'm chewing gum and eating candy. I may do it because I'm feeling a bit childish that day or it's some little fancy, but I know it's not really good for me. But keeping my food as close to its real origin source, buying from markets, farmers markets. I mean, we all know that. I'm just repeating stuff that we all know. But sticking to the product, rather than having the orange juice from a carton, why not squeeze it fresh at home or eat the whole orange or whatever your thing is. And the second most important thing I think I've really learned over the years is because you can't really trust your source of food. In India, even when it says organic, you don't really know if it's really certified organic. You really have to learn to look for your labels, etc. I've really learned to trust myself. In the sense, before I eat food, I say, I know that I have the wisdom to choose only that which is absolutely great for me, and I am well protected. And then just eat it. If you get sick, just don't eat it again. Honestly, it's that simple.
Interesting. I once read a research paper coming out of the University of Lübeck where they said that it literally takes 30 minutes for something you consume to impact a decision that you're making.
How many minutes? 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah. 30 minutes is what it takes. And I think people don't realize that. Now, Deanna, I'm going to move to you, and you've just published a book around the topic of balance, okay? And I think people in approaching balance don't understand what are the different verticals that contribute to balance. So what I'd like you to do is break down balance for us and let us know, is the elusive work-life balance that the world is searching for, is it just a myth or is it really achievable?
You want me to speak just about work life or just about the book in general, what it's about?
Well, I'd like you to talk about your concept of balance. What are the verticals in it, and how would one go about trying to deconstruct or find balance?
Okay, so I came out with 2 books before this, and the first book, of course, was stress. I connected stress to what stress does to the body, and my second book was an entire guide for men and women. It's all to do with fitness and nutrition and workouts. And so this book it's a school that I studied from in New York, and it's something that I firmly believe in. They don't believe in diets. We come from a school where we don't believe that the diets do not work. So, of course, diets, there are many diets that are very scientific that we can recommend and give our clients, but we give it to them if it's really required, if it's required, for an athlete or an actor or somebody to lose weight or to motivate them temporarily. If we find out, if we see them getting obsessive with it, then of course we come to their rescue, and that's one of the reasons why I don't believe in diets, because the world is getting very obsessive with intermittent fasting. And coming back to the topic on balance, the reason why I wrote this book is because for me and for us in the school that I come from, we look at nutrition very secondary. There are 13 aspects in my book that I call as non-food sources of nourishment. For example, areas of finance, career, relationships, home cooking, physical wellness, career, joy, spirituality, and so on and so forth. Now, these aspects, the non-food sources of nourishment, if they're not in balance and they're not in sync, no matter how much you work out or how healthy you eat, you are not going to find true health and happiness. For example, in the relationship area, if you have ups and downs with your spouse or your boyfriend, or an issue with a friend, you're constantly going to be stressed. When you're stressed, we all know we release cortisol. You're constantly in a fight or flight mode. You're going to release cortisol. You feel hungry, right? Because it makes you feel hungry. You're going to turn towards a tub of ice cream, when actually it is a relationship issue. You might need a hug or love from your spouse or your husband. So I explained to you in each chapter, in each area of what I've written about, is how to simple, small ways how to deal with it. We all can't balance our life throughout. There's always ups and downs, and we have to always deal with a career issue or a bad boss or a relationship issue, or so many issues that life throws at us. But I give you little tips just how to deal with it at that time, and how to increase the spirituality aspect, how to increase the joy aspect, creativity in your life, and all of these things that help physical wellness, health. For me, health is, gut health, a lot of gut health, self-care, a lot of these things, mental health, how to deal with it, how to de-stress and to deal with these issues in your life, because we all deal with it, at some point in our lives. So for me, these are non-food sources of nourishment that have to nourish your life for you to live very happy and healthy lifelong. Nutrition, of course, is very important, but I'm looking at it secondary, because the world is obsessing with diets right now. They're obsessing with workouts. And for me, workouts are important, nutrition is important, but it's, like I said, wellness, a very broad spectrum. It's all these aspects put together that make you whole and happy, from inside out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, you touched on really what was the summary of a massive study called the Grant study that came out of Harvard, which was 80 years old, that said that after looking at well-being and longevity over 80 years, they found that it was a sense of belonging that actually led to the happiest, most content life. So, Juanita, for someone who's been a fantastic ambassador of movement in this country, okay, I think you would be the perfect person to sort of break down the topic of longevity, and what has been your secrets, and what do you think we need to embrace in terms of understanding, decoding, and becoming more happier in our quest for longevity?
Right. Mindfulness is very important. People don't even eat mindfully these days. They're always in a hurry, always, attached to their phone, and they're not connected to anything that they are doing, be it work, as simple as eating or talking to somebody physically. It's no connection anymore. So Ikigai, like we all have read this book, Ikigai, and that is, does focus on mindfulness. That is very important. And being stress-free is important. Getting quality sleep is a problem these days. And it is a rejuvenating sleep. And, you need to get the sleep, because cellular repair happens, okay, at the cellular level. And people don't realize that, and they think it is uncool to sleep at as early as 9 o'clock. even at 9:30, 10. But it is cool to sleep. Hit the bed at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And I have my own friends who are doing this. And also there are so many lifestyle diseases that is coming up these days. PCOD is one of them, and thyroid is the most common one. And also we have vitamin D deficiency. All this is putting these people further away from longevity, and they are depending on the medicines all the time. There's more medicine going than nutritious food going. So, and also lifestyle diseases, thanks to their sedentary lifestyle, and they're bringing down productivity, quality of their life, functionality. All these three things are getting affected. So they need to pick up themselves. You cannot buy a beauty product and supposing you bought a cream, okay, anti-aging cream. This is not going to help you. It's very superficial. You got to be stress-free, sleep well, and eat well. What is on your plate is going to show on your hair and skin, plus energy. So people have to realize that. And as a Fit India ambassador, I am going to bring across these points to people, make them understand, and don't go overboard with your exercise nor diet, and don't do any of these fancy things, and go back to your roots. That is where I want to push what your grandparents did.
So can you break that down for us quickly? What does going back to your roots mean? What did our grandparents do?
Yeah, they ate healthy. They ate on time. They ate ghar ka khana. They ate anything that was grown within 45 kilometers of their vicinity. And also, they worked out a lot, like as in did housework. They didn't have maids or any gadgets. Okay, and they slept early. They slept early, woke up early, and they slogged. Okay, and they were of course stress-free because they didn't have any TV serials to watch. All right, and
Anita, you didn't meet my grandparents.
Yeah. So recently I posted your grandparents.
You have to come home to see how our grandparents lived.
So recently I had posted and said, go back to your roots, follow your grandparents. I said, oh, my grandparents, white rice. I said, okay, go back to great grandparents. Okay, your grandparent is like a young one. So yes, we need to educate these people, and in the name of themselves, people are just working on aesthetics and not functionality. And there are a lot of people who are breaking their bones, getting out of action, even trainers who are not training well, uncertified trainers. That is why I had to turn into a fitness activist to bring upon throw light on these subjects. So
Amazing.
we all collectively have a lot to do, and this forum will definitely help a lot of people to see fitness, diet, and exercise in another light, okay, the way it should be.
Amazing.
Gone overboard.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Eva, Diane touched on something super important. She touched on gut microbiome. And as a nutritionist, I'm sure you're spending a lot of time understanding the relationship between the gut and brain. The question I have to you is, we live in India, and statistically, India is probably one of the most antibiotic resistant countries in the world because of that. So our gut microbiome is really damaged to a different level. Okay. So do you spend enough time looking at it? And how can someone really start by healing the gut? Because really, you spoke about being able to feel well-being. And feeling well-being is about really feeling it in your gut. It's about having that connection with your gut. Where do you start about peeling away of layers of getting people to be aware of this and then healing it?
Well, number one, most people who come to me for weight management, check with them how many times do you go to the loo, or how many times a week do you go to the loo. Sorry to bring that up, but it's shocking what the answers sometimes are. And they don't like it at all, when they're told that you can't go, oh, I need to bring my waistline down by so many inches before I go for this bikini holiday. And, my skiing holiday is coming up. I need to drop 7 kgs. And I'm like, yeah, but how are your loo habits? They're like, what does that have to do with my weight loss? And I'm like, that's everything got to do with your health and weight loss. So yes, definitely. I think the fad diets that, both these lovely girls have been talking about have done more damage to us, even now in India, especially, when you're doing long periods of fasting for long periods of time. When I know people who are doing IF for months together. I know people who've been on ketosis for weeks together, although I don't know what kind of ketosis that is, because you'll collapse if you're actually in ketosis for more than a few days. And all of this, what people don't realize, is damaging their gut, along with eating a lot of processed food, pumping yourself with a lot of sports supplements, not drinking enough water, Of course, like Deanne said, stress plays a major part on it. So yes, the gut is really badly damaged. We're reading so much about it. We're studying so much about it. The one main factor I feel that most people aren't looking at, and I stress a lot on it, is healthy carbohydrates. In a day and age where carbs just have like the worst rep and, you know, have been demonized as like the bad guys who are going to get fat on you, and everyone's going mad over, you know, I'm not having sugar and dropping sugar this, but no one's really talking about fiber. And, you know, our gut is going to get cleaned if you put enough healthy fiber in it. If there's no fiber and you're just calculating 30, 40 grams of protein, oh yes, I managed to cut my fat grams down to, you know, 10, 15, 30, whatever it is. But no one's really looking at, are you getting about 20 to 30 grams of fiber per day? Because no gut cleanse is going to do that for us. No enemas are going to do that for anyone. You just really need to make sure that you have that right nutrition and good quality carbohydrates. And I mean, I really don't know what else to say about it, but carbs have just become like this bad guy now. And I don't even understand why. Like, what's wrong with having one chapati? Like, how did that, you know, become like the worst thing? Like, when did that happen? When did we become so obsessed with, oh my God, but that's a carb, that's a carb. And I don't even know why. It's like there's so much stress about, you're on a high carb diet, you're on a low carb diet, you're on this diet, you're on that diet. But like, you know, Vanita rightly said, what were our grandparents eating? And my grandmother had a waistline that's the same as me after 7 kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And what did she eat? She ate chapati and some sabzi for lunch. And then she again ate an egg and maybe a chapati for dinner. What did she eat for breakfast? It was, you know, some form of bread and an egg, and that was it. Copious amounts of cups of tea, of course, in between. And they did just fine. So
Yeah,
why
fair
are
enough.
we?
I think they also did just fine because the time that they lived in was completely different, isn't it? You know, they weren't exposed to as many stress, as much distraction, and the caloric burn, even through our eyes, was much, much significantly less. And I think you're right. I think, you know, what Deanne talks about with respect to balance is the essence of life. And what people have taken to an extreme is, you're right, they've taken carbs to an extreme. And the reason they've taken it on is because of the research around what we call gluconeogenesis, where protein can actually produce enough glucose to keep the body sustained in whatever shape and form it needs to. So I think
Right, but that's the key, right? To keep the body in survival, not for it to thrive. What people aren't understanding is that if you want to thrive, like, yeah, if you want to survive your workout, if you want to survive in performance in life, great. But I don't think any of us are the people, our clients don't come to us because they want to survive. Our clients come to us because they want to thrive. And it's so difficult to get people to understand that. Just try to understand the function of every macro. The function of a carbohydrate is to give you energy. The function of a protein is to rebuild and rejuvenate. And fat is anti-inflammation, hormone, all of that. You can't expect to just take protein and fat and then crib that you don't have any energy.
Yep.
So they're surviving, just like literally surviving through and saying, oh, but you know, my abs are showing. But you can have good carbs, have a clean gut, go to the loo every day, feel fantastic, and have abs.
Amazing, amazing. Deanne, I want to talk to you about, you know, you look at everything from a very holistic point of view. You're looking at balance, and every single one of the speakers is mentioning a really quality point. But I want to get your advice on how do we instill the psychology of looking at your well-being holistically right from a child, the time they're in school. You know, whose responsibility it is, and how do we actually go about instilling in them this thinking that, you know, it's not just about the six-pack, it's not just about a diet, it's not about keto, a holistic approach where something like gratitude, like you said, contributes to well-being. How should we go about doing this?
Towards to children, you mean?
Yes,
Towards
to children.
children?
Yes, children.
So I don't believe in telling people what to do, because, you know, as humans we never listen. If you tell somebody to stop smoking, stop drinking, they don't do it. They do it with circumstances. If something hits them, and automatically when something bad happens to them, and that's when they give up. So telling them what to do doesn't really work, especially with this young generation, because with social media, exposed to social media, and there's so much happening, you can't really tell them what to do. They have very strong minds, right? For me, what I feel is, I've always felt as yoga should be introduced as a subject into schools. Meditation and yoga should, because it's originated from India and it's spread all over the world, and it's doing so well all over the world. Somewhere down the line in India, they're not using it to its full potential, as in it should be introduced as a subject. Now, like for example, Hindi is compulsory, Marathi is compulsory, Sanskrit is compulsory in Delhi. If it is made compulsory, our younger generation is going to have that 1 hour, that 45 minutes of a period that they go, and they're made to do yoga with a teacher, right? That automatically makes you feel calm. It makes you feel stress free. We all have done yoga and we know how it makes us feel after we finish a class, right? Any kind of yoga, whether it's Ashtanga, Aoife introduced me to Ashtanga years ago, whether it's Iyengar, whether it's Hatha yoga, whether it's whatever form of yoga you like, it does make you feel fantastic after you finish a class. It makes you feel very different from when you do a workout. It makes you feel very different when you finish a CrossFit class. Of course, you feel full of endorphins and happy and full of energy after a workout, but yoga makes you feel calm. So when you introduce yoga as a subject into schools, for the younger generation, it's going to make them feel over time a habit, and it'll make them feel calm. And that's when I think they will start looking at things a little differently. Not, no anxiety, no depression. All of these things is a cycle. So starting off with a subject, this is what I always felt, and I've always said it for years, but I'm hoping one day that it does happen. So this is my way how the younger generation can be taught a lot through yoga, by not telling them what to do, but wire. You know what I mean?
Prime Minister Modi is going to love this. We'll try to get this sent to him. And
He anyway promotes yoga.
exactly.
Yeah, Aoife will agree with me, because that's one way how to get to this younger generation, because you cannot tell them what to do. They're very stubborn, they're very strong-minded, they're very free. Parents can't tell them what to do. They're their own people. It's a very different generation. It's a very big gap from me and my children. Because of technology coming in, we had those dialing phones at our time, and suddenly all this has come. So there's a very big gap. So you can't really tell them what to do. So I feel yoga's a very, very big thing as a subject. It should be introduced.
So well said. Yeah.
Vanita, do you think we're doing enough to inspire movement in schools? And do you think India's younger generation have enough role models in the movement industry?
No, we haven't. You know why? Because we used to have 1 hour of PT every day back then. But now the PT is gone thanks to space and thanks to all the other curriculum activities. Some of them don't even have the infrastructure to accommodate this. This is really sad. And and the kids are also married to their gadgets, and they don't step out of their house to get any activity like street games, like we did. All of us, if I am skill-based, my skills are enhanced. It's only because of all the street games that I, participated when I was young. And all that is gone, and kids find everything uncool, doing all these things, and they like all these fancy things that comes on Insta, where all these foreigners are posting about, some rubbish, and they're not even going to benefit from it. So it is really wrong. And every child should be encouraged to play a sport. So sports is a skill-based activity, and this will enhance their focus, concentration, balance, neuromuscular integrity, coordination, and all these things. They will become better performers. As parents now, they have a huge task there, Hercules, I would say, to get these children out, away from the gadget, and get them to go and participate in a sport. Like Ian said, they will not listen to you. They will not listen to you. And if it's not there online, like on YouTube or Insta or or Google, they're not going to do it. So again, we need a lot of people who are going to talk about, guiding them to the right thing. And like Dian said, we need to have a yoga class, mandate in every school. So I hope I can take it forward and make this happen. And we also, as parents, will have to encourage our children to step out, and we we have to do it. We have no way out, because these are our generation next, and we need them healthy, fit, strong, just like us, just like we are. We are all in action, right? We are all in action, still having a job, and still at the top of our success ladder. It's only because we did the right kind of things. I just foresee the same thing. I want my generation next to have the same.
Amazing, amazing. So, ladies, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move around the table one more time. I'd like you to just give us a message from yourself, from your side on well-being, right? What is the advice that we can all take in? And also at the same time, just share how the audience listening can get in touch with you, where they can follow you, what are your coordinates are, whatever message, and we can move around that. So, Diane, I'll start with you.
Okay, so Instagram, I think I'm most active on Instagram. I have an alarm after 1.5 hours. I go off Instagram. I only use it for work. I don't, occasionally once in a way I will check on my friends, but I use it for work. And so, yeah, on Instagram, Diane Pandey, that's where I post. I'm most active. And a wellness message would be what I tell everybody, the zero negativity challenge, to go by a month every day, just thinking positive. And after 30 days, your life will just be on different, because, just as humans, we try to, think negative, say negative things, judge people. So for me, I've been practicing this for years and years and years. So I feel wellness is also a state of your mind to just be positive and just be happy, do what you love what you do, and just be happy. If there's any negative vibe, any negativity, just stay away from it. We have one life, we have to live it, we have to be happy. Yeah. And I think at Instagram, Diane Pandey, they can get in touch with me. DM.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much, Diane. Her message is to be happy, carve away toxicity, and
Yes.
the rest will fall in place. Aoife, over to you.
Many messages, but one that I'll try to stick to is the one that screams loudest right now is please stop dieting. Please stop dieting. Obesity rates have only gone up, in the last 80 years. Even when we look at all the research done since World War II, we are skyrocketing as far as heart disease, obesity is concerned, and diet books and exercise programs are multiplied by 1,000 since that time. So you don't have to be Einstein to figure out that it's not working. If it was working, then obesity would be going down, but we are only the more books on diet and exercise in terms of don't do this, eat this, don't eat that. This is bad for you. Everything is killing you. Some mean guy is making money somewhere trying to kill you and he's going to suck your blood. I mean, we need to just get off that. Yes, there's good stuff going on in the world and bad stuff. Stop focusing on dieting, start focusing on eating and training. I always say, champions eat and train, amateurs diet and exercise. So that is really my message, especially if you're somebody who's young and thinking about getting into a fat diet. Please focus on eating, be intuitive. Your body wants to be healthy. Your body doesn't want to die, that you have to struggle and keep it from getting fat. I think all of us by nature want to be healthy and fit. We just have to get out of the way and start being more intuitive and realistic about it, and start focusing on the things that we want rather than focus on things that we don't want. So focus on food, eating well, and getting in touch with me. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, although I'm not too active, but yes, it's Aoife_Shroff on Instagram. I have a blog and a website called aoifeshroff.com. That's shrof.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Juanita, over to you.
Yes. Okay. So I have many messages too. And Get Fit India, the right way. All right. This is my punchline. And YouTube doesn't know you personally. So please seek professional help and train. And you also have to address your depression, aches and pains, mood swings, and whatever these are, do not put it away. Of course, the doctors, it is tiresome, cumbersome to go to the doctor. But then it's still worth it. If your aches, pains haven't come down in 48 hours, you need to see your doctor or it will get chronic. And also the other thing that I would like to say is, the resolution month is almost coming to an end. I don't know how many of you kept it up, but if nothing motivates you, this should motivate you. Exercise is about being independent of being dependent on somebody else. Okay, no diapers, no walking stick, no nurse looking after you. You are going to live your life to the fullest, and every penny that you are earning, you need to spend it. You should spend it. You should enjoy it, and not the doctor, pharmacist, or diagnostic center. Keep this in mind and rethink a lifestyle. Okay, think health. You don't want to exercise, think health. I'm doing it for health. And weight loss, just put it away. When you start doing the right kind of things, it does reflect on your weight naturally. And no high funda diet, no fat diet. It's all like ping pong. Nothing is sustainable. What is sustainable is what our great grandparents did. Okay, stick to that. Keep that in mind. And also, when you can stand, do not sit. When you can walk, do not stand. I don't promote running. Running is for horses. I'm sorry. And there are so many other workouts that people can do. Take that. Okay. And yeah, you can catch me on Instagram. It's Vanitha Ashok, Vanitha with a W, and I'm on Facebook too. My target audience are all on Facebook, and I target people who are 35 plus, because anyway, youngsters won't listen to us. And Vanitha on Facebook too. So you can reach out to me on vanithaashok@gmail.com, and more than willing to help you out. And my book is called You Have an Excuse, I Have an Exercise. And this came upon after 18 years of being in media, that is print and television and radio. I still have an ongoing, radio show and a column in a leading publication here. And I'm very, very passionate about getting my country fit, strong, healthy, the right way. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Ladies, this was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we had such little time. I would have loved to have deep dived into a few more things like fasting and supplementation and breaking down the other components of balance and the components of movement like running and stuff like that. But I request them to put another panel together where we can probably deep dive in certain particular subjects a lot deeper and peel away the layers.
And we'd love to hear more from you next time.
Yes.
No, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.